Well, he really deeply does care about his constituents, his community, his family, and what he has to offer everyone. Um, like I said, he grew up in a family that was very committed to the community, not just to themselves, but to everyone, and to always try to make it a better place to live for his family and friends and everyone who lives here. And I think he's doing a great job of it. And he's had a lot of influence, like he said, from family members and from friends alike. And I think he will only get better with time, and I think he'll achieve higher office, hopefully, to make this entire state and perhaps nation a better place.
And Senator, when you look at your mother's candidacy in the neighboring town, what do you see and what do you want voters to think about when they go to the polls?
I want them to see someone who absolutely doesn't need public office. She's 72 years old and has decided now to jump in the political arena because she sees that there's a system that's broken there, and that there's very limited services in Buena Vista Township, yet very high taxes. And I can tell you that's probably how her candidacy started. I'm a good son in the sense that I call my mom every day, and then the last number of years, every morning when I call her on my way to work or wherever I'm going, she would say, do you believe our taxes went up? And, we only have state police presence, and they take a long time to get here. We deserve a better environment. We deserve better services. And I said, Mom, you either have to find someone that you really trust to run, or you need to run yourself. I honestly never thought, Max, that it was going to come to fruition, that she was going to put her name on the ballot. But she finally said, you know what, Michael, I'm going to run. And I said, get out of here, Mom, are you really? And she said, yeah. And I said, why? She said, well, for all the reasons that we talk about every morning when you call me. I'm kind of tired of it, and I think our community deserves better. So here she is.
It strikes me as a great story, in part because so many people are turned off by politics now. And here you are making your first foray at a time when maybe the national discussion seems very mean-spirited, and yet he has never seemed that way. He's always just seemed very infectious. And is that kind of rubbing off a little bit, or is that a family trait? Or
Well, I'm not going to say that I'm the most optimistic of people, but his father is, and he's just always been a very happy, grounded person. And I think that's what he brings to his office, and that positivity. And the reason, like I said, that I'm running also is, when my family came to Buena Vista Township, it was, 1951. My father, my mother, two uncles and aunts. None of them spoke English very well. They had come after the Holocaust to New York and then moved to Buena Vista because going into chicken farming at that time was seemed very highly suggested to them.
Mhm.
They had no experience whatsoever, didn't know what they were doing, didn't speak the language very well, but became very successful in what they did. Not so much the chicken farming for my father, but when he got out of that is when he did become more successful. But they tried, and I have to tell you, all the neighbors back then were so helpful and so caring to us. And it was just an amazing time. And that's the one thing that's missing now in society. And I'd like to at least see in a rural area like Buena Vista that come back a little bit even. It would help so much because everybody's so alienated from one another anymore. And I really would love to see that spirit come back.
How do you intend to give that?
Well, that's a very difficult question because I just think, just like his positivity, that we have to be the same way. And that we have to show that we do care for one another. And not to be as alienated, which COVID has made even worse, obviously, but that we're there to help one another and to try to make it a better community like it once was.
Senator, serving in Trenton, how do you find that vibe? Do you find a positive vibe for the most part, or has the negativity saturated even the halls of our state government?
You know, look, I got elected and sworn in December of 2019, and unfortunately, COVID happened. You know, three and a half months later. So obviously, we were under this pall of the COVID-19 era. So I think there has been a lot of negativity, and as you know, you've heard me say before, Max, the legislature has been largely excluded from the conversation. So there's been a lot of negativity, and I think, you know, what my mother and father really instilled in me is a sense of fighting for what's right, standing for what you really believe in, and that better is achievable. And I think, you know, I don't want to speak for my mother, but you know, what they've instilled in me to believe is that better is achievable. Things are going okay at certain times, but you know, right now I think, you know, in our society we're all sort of, you know, COVID has made us more addicted to these things than ever probably, and that's not necessarily a good thing at all. That there is a better way, that we can be a better community working together to achieve goals. I mean, and you know, and I know a lot of people say, you know, you have to reach across the aisle. I certainly have. I mean, you know, I don't think it's any secret that myself and the Senate President have a good relationship, a good working relationship, because we believe in South Jersey. Because there is that big difference between North Jersey and South Jersey, whether we really like to admit it or not. South Jersey is different, and I'm proud of it, and that's something that my mom and dad certainly instilled in me. And you know, I think that what you use the word infectious, Max. So I think that infectious nature of what I have has gotten my mother, you know, to say, hey, look, Buena Vista Township can be better. It can be better than what we've been doing for the last 35 years. And Max, you and I have talked a lot of times. You know, I'm a big fan of Albert Einstein, and doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is the definition of insanity. And unfortunately, there's a lot of towns like Buena Vista Township that have been doing the same thing over and over again for 35, 40 years. And I think that's really what my mother has seen, having lived there the past 20 plus years, that better is achievable, and it's deserved by the people in Buena Vista Township.
The two of you are running in a gubernatorial election, and just to get you both to reflect, if you could, on that contest and what you see and why you want people to vote for the Republican candidate, Jack Ciattarelli.
You want me to take it first, or? I mean, okay. You know, I think from what I can see from the Democratic Party, particularly Governor Murphy, you know, he excluded the legislature, and I think that's a hard message to get to your average constituent, that, you know, this separate but equal branch of government of the legislature was excluded from the conversation, that we've been living pretty much under executive order now for over a year and a half. And, you know, I could tell you, knowing Jack Ciattarelli personally over the past number of years that I've been involved in politics, whether it's as the county chairman or, you know, knowing, you know, he was running in 2017 and now running again this year. And I hope him to be successful. And I think he can be successful, and I want him to be successful. He's saying the right things. He did an outstanding performance in the debate the other evening. I think that there is that real message that the Democratic Party's been monolithic. And one thing that I haven't really heard from any of the Democrats in South Jersey is a voice against the Murphy regime. They've been silent, and I've said they've sort of been the Simon and Garfunkel of politics, you know, the sounds of silence, you know, that they really haven't been a voice at all to say, hey, wait a minute, pump the brakes here. We need to be included in this conversation. And, you know, I don't think that people in New Jersey really want to live under a tyrannical governor. And I've said that. You know, I've called him a tyrant before. You know, we've lived under one-party rule and actually one-person rule for over a year and a half at this point. I think people are tired of it.
Absolutely.
What do you think, Mrs. Testa?
Well, I'm going to agree totally with him. I think Jack Ciattarelli is a wonderful candidate. We have gotten to know him very well, because for the first time we have a person who's running for governor making many, many visits to South Jersey, which has never happened before, and he's made his presence known. I agree with Michael on Murphy. He's tyrannical. I just don't even consider the fact, with the things he says, that he actually believes what he's saying. You can't. can't have all these people dying in nursing homes and him saying, oh, basically that it didn't happen that way. We all know it did. And I just think his form of government is awful, and we are not shown any true leadership. And I think Jack Chitterelli can and will do a much better job than what we've been getting.